Hi, Kevin Lentz, the pastor here of Trinity Badger Ranch. And thank you for joining me for my Monday weekly devotion where I give a sermon recap of what was preached yesterday in God's house. The theme we looked at was from Galatians chapter 5. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I began by talking about, we're all familiar with somebody saying, maybe we've said it, I have good news and bad news. So we kind of developed that a little bit. And later on we got into the fact that there's good news and bad news. All who confess Christ as Lord are indeed saved, redeemed. All who do not confess Christ as Lord are not saved, not redeemed. We don't like to talk about that, but that's very clear from the teachings of Scripture. So I began with talking about what it means to give a witness, how important that is in the courtroom, or even Scripture talks about where 2 or 3 give witness to something. It's like establishing a fact. So we know how important it is that when we're trying to figure things out, when someone sees an activity or hears some words or whatever the case may be, they can testify to that. It's a very important thing. We also talked about how important it is to give a witness through our actions, and that you can say you're the nicest person in the world, you are so friendly, but if your actions contradict that, you are mean or short-spirited or quick temper, the word's kind of worthless. And you can also tell people how you are, not through your words again, but through your actions. If you are friendly, kind, loving, generous, considerate, then those speak through your actions as well. We looked at the text, it was kind of long, Galatians chapter 5, and it reads, the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. And the like might have been, in case one might have been missed in that long list of 15 actions, which clearly are against the will of God. But the one word I focused on was the word obvious. And those kind of acts are obvious. God's people sin, we know that. We're not perfect. But hopefully our public sin of the fits of rage, the jealousy, things like that are on the list are few and far between. We don't live by that on a regular basis. And we want to try to not take part in those kind of activities as well, because they speak about the person who carries them out. And that's why it says in the text that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Well, we're saved by grace through faith, not works, right? That's true. But wouldn't a believer live a regular daily life in line with the will of God and exemplify what it means to be a Christian? The second part of the text, still from Galatians 5, was the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And the Spirit does enable us to do those things because the Spirit gives us with faith, for which we are very thankful. But again, the question, or the next part is, since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. So going back to the list again, wouldn't a believer carry out those things: love, joy, peace, patience, and following? So we're not saying we're judged by our works. We know we're not. Scripture is very clear on that. But our works give testimony to our faith. And if we live a faithful life, that tells the world we are believers. If we don't live a faithful life, we just fill it with all that selfishness, greed, whatever the case might be, ungodliness, that tells the world that our faith, if we even have it, is not even so strong. I did kind of conclude with what Jesus said. Paul wrote those words in Galatians, but Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, verses 18 and 20, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. So by their fruit you can recognize them. And it's true. We know that about the trees. No bad tree, good fruit, no good tree, bad fruit. But that's true also for faith. A believer will not bear bad fruit. Someone who denies, rejects God, has no use for faith, will not bear positive, godly fruit. So we give thanks for that. So kind of talked about good news and bad news. The good news is that all who confess Christ as Lord are redeemed. All who reject or deny Christ are redeemed. But our lives as God's people should reflect our faith, as God tells us to live that sanctified, glorifying life. So thank you for joining me here today. I hope you have a blessed 4th of July, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.